It's the Bush League Mud Show.
It's the Bush League Mud Show. Let's go.
Are you ready?
Make some noise!
All right, WWE SmackDown. This was going to be the first one of 2022. And the awaiting of the Tribal Chief.
Yes.
The one that we are to acknowledge, Roman Reigns. It was already expected that he was going to be there after sitting out last week's and the last, about 10 days or so due to testing positive for COVID. The show kicks off. Reigns comes out. There's no Heyman. There's no Usos. It's just him by himself. And I got to say, as I'm watching this, you know that he's a star. You know he is.
Mm-hmm.
But under the current heel Roman Reigns gimmick, him by himself, I'm sorry, many of you may disagree, but it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
The package of him by himself coming out there, he now looks like, and you start to kind of see it a little tidbits a little bit with this whole thing. It kind of seemed like they're trying to play it as he's the babyface in this. But, Reigns by himself didn't really work for me. He didn't have that sizzle. So he gets into the ring. He grabs the mic. He speaks a little bit. He says that he hopes that two people that he for sure never has to see again ever in his life, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. That's when, of course, the Beast music hits, and both Brock and Heyman, they make their way to the ring. Paul immediately grabs the mic, and he's going to start with the intro, but immediately Brock snatches it from him and does his Paul Heyman impersonation. Did it pretty damn good, right?
Yeah.
In Roman Reigns' face. This got a nice pop from the crowd. People were really liking Smiley
this
Brock.
Yeah, I am.
So he ended up mocking Roman in the process. He cut his own Paul Heyman impersonation with the intro of himself, gave the mic back, or actually kept the mic and proposed to Roman that they give the people what they want. That's a champ versus champ match. He said they both got what they wanted, and that's the World Championship, which technically no, because there can only be one world champ.
Yes.
But we've got two world champion belts.
Well, that's why I said put the title on the line. I mean, if that's where we're going with Mania, I'm for it. If they unify this damn thing, I mean, I was happy to hear that floated out there tonight, so hopefully that's the big idea, what we're heading into.
Roman Reigns, he said, although he found it to be a great idea, but it's not his idea.
Yeah.
And because the fact that it's not his ideal, it's his show, what he says is what goes.
Yes.
And he says that he especially doesn't do business with people who associate themselves with trash like Paul Heyman.
Yes.
And at that point, Brock Lesnar said that, well, Paul Heyman said, well, hey, and Paul Heyman tries to basically profess his love for Roman Reigns and says without him, Roman doesn't get to where he is. He's very emotional. Brock cuts him off, tells him to shut up. Now, Brock says, don't say that about him. Don't be mean to Paul.
Yeah.
Paul gets emotional about Roman. Yeah. Brock tells Paul to shut up.
Yeah.
Roman says, don't talk to him like that.
Yes.
And this becomes a back and forth. Now these two, Paul's in between his two guys. Well, technically, Roman's not his guy, but he's in between his two main guys who are now trying to stick up like, only I will verbally abuse you. You can't do it. It's kind of like that kind of thing. Anyways, as Brock turns back to Paul, Roman takes the opportunity to hit him with a Superman punch. Heyman looks in shock, and Roman leaves the ring and goes up the ramp as Brock lays there in the middle of the ring, and Heyman's still looking in shock. So they are already giving you the storyline that Paul is going to be playing both sides.
Yes, again.
And he's confused and doesn't know what to do. He's playing both sides.
I'm for it. I'm liking it. I do like it. I know I'm with you that something seemed missing when Roman was coming out because we've been so accustomed to it and used to it, but I still think it was strong on the promo, and how this is going to work, this dynamic, I'm still for it.
After this, backstage, we got Sami Zayn, who was being interviewed about his upcoming match with Rick Boogs. Now, he's not getting the IC champion Nakamura. He continued to go on about how it is a belt that he never lost. So Sami Zayn is still on that. He talked about Rick Boogs. And then we get Johnny Knoxville in this shot here, who Sami Zayn tries to explain that this is pro wrestling. This isn't Jackass. This is pro wrestling. There's a lot that it takes to make it in this business. But Johnny Knoxville says that when it comes to the Royal Rumble, it doesn't matter what you know about pro wrestling. All you got to do is just throw people over the ropes.
Yep.
So we get our match of Sami Zayn versus Rick Boogs. Boogs got on the offensive end through the first commercial break. We come back from the break. Zayn gained some offense. Boogs, there was a spot in this match that I thought was very impressive. Boogs held Zayn up in the air for quite a while for a suplex. Zayn kneed him in the head a couple of times, brought Boogs down to his knees while still holding Zayn, and was still with the strength able to get back up and still pull off the superplex. That was a
hell of a spot by both guys, too, because it was Sami to show that he was fighting and Boogs to just keep him up there.
It's an amazing spot. We get to the outside, and we get Zayn, who's jaw-jacking with Nakamura. He rolls back into the ring, and he's a little too distracted with Nakamura. Boogs hits him with the almighty roll-up for the 1-2-3 win.
He hooked the leg. I'll give him that with this.
Okay.
He hooked the leg.
He hooked the leg, but Rick Boogs scoring the upset victory over Sami Zayn. After this, Boogs, he rolls out. He and Nakamura, they're ringside. Zayn is still distracted. He's jaw-jacking with now both of them. As he's distracted, we get Johnny Knoxville, who runs from the back, sneaks from behind Sami Zayn, throws him over the ropes, and then it is announced that Johnny Knoxville from Jackass will now be entered into the Royal Rumble.
We got to promote that movie that's coming out in February. That's basically what it is. I mean, I will say, if it is Knoxville, they should be able to lay it in. Be a little stiff with him, the way. Because they're Jackass guys. They want it the way it should be, so we'll see in the Rumble if they take some liberties with him or not.
After this, we go backstage again. There's an interview. Kayla Braxton, she is chatting with the New Day. This is to promote the tag team street fight that they're going to be getting against the Usos for the belts. After this, we get Charlotte Flair, who makes her way down to the ring. Go to a commercial break. We come back. She's on the mic. And she begins to unleash some of the Royal Rumble participants that will be upcoming. Now, we got some of the main ones that you would expect. The Rhea Ripleys. We've got Nikki Ash. We got Carmella. We got Zelina Vega. But then we got...
And I'm good with those. That's fine. Put those up there.
But then we decided to dip into the Flash from the past. The Bellas. Both Nikki and Brie will be a part of this Rumble. Kelly was announced to be a part of this Rumble. Hall of Famer Lita is going to be a part of this. Summer Rae. And it appears that the Forbidden Door has been opened, and WWE is once again working with Impact Wrestling because their current Knockout Women's Champion, Mickie James, and they refer to her as the Impact Wrestling Knockout Women's Champion. Mickie James will be in this Rumble, and they've made it social media official. They've mentioned that she's – so they've mentioned Impact Wrestling, and as everyone knows, this is not the first time they've done business with Impact Wrestling. They did it a couple of years ago to show some of the documentary footage with Kurt Angle. They had Dixie Carter a part of that. And then, of course, the famous story about the Ric Flair to induct him into the Hall of Fame. Of anyone that they could have had, they got Christian Cage for their pay-per-view because he and Dixie had a very close relationship due to their love for cats.
Yes. And some of the online reaction was great because I saw some of the people saying, hey, they actually have now, Impact has got more love from WWE than they have with AEW the whole run. And it's kind of true. They never really mentioned Impact Champion or whatever. I mean, they would show the belt on there and everything, but they didn't really give them the love like this announcement on major network TV. So we'll see what happens. But again, this kind of kills Rumble surprises. That's what we love for the Rumble. Surprise. Guess who it is? You already leaked about 6 names that, okay. Well, there goes the surprise.
Yeah, Shayna Baszler, Tamina, Natalya, they're also going to be a part of that as well. Charlotte Flair, she went on. She said it, she gave props. She said it was an stacked lineup for the Rumble. But she's going to do something that no champ has done before. She's going to enter herself into the Rumble, and she plans to win it. Therefore, she can handpick her own opponent for WrestleMania. At this time, Naomi's music hits. Naomi enters and says that, why wait until the Rumble? She wants a match right now, tonight. So Charlotte says, hey, you're a former champ, but what have you done lately? And Naomi says, well, I've done this. And she just slapped. She put it in. She laid it in. She just slapped the shit out of Charlotte. And that's when we go to commercial break. We come back, and, of course, the match is set. We get a match of Charlotte versus Naomi. We fast forward this. We're on the outside, and these two are brawling with one another. And it appears that Naomi wins this. She beats the count. She beats Charlotte back into the ring, so Naomi assumes that she has beat the champ via count out. That's when Sonya Deville comes out and says the match cannot be won by count out. So at least they're still sticking to the fact that Naomi has issues with Sonya, and I was afraid that they were going to try to make you forget all about that.
Yeah.
So Sonya sticks her nose into this match and makes the stipulation as we go, the match cannot be won by count out. That's when Flair from behind, she attacks Naomi. She locks in a figure four at one point. And after this, we get Sonya also making the stipulation that this match also cannot be won by DQ either. So that also puts
she was
Naomi,
reaching for the ropes.
She was reaching for the ropes, yeah. So we got that, and eventually Charlotte wins this match.
Yeah, eventually, and it's fun to see the Deville character again with her and Charlotte. I know it was more the Naomi dynamic, but remember they were teasing maybe being linked together earlier this year, so I guess it was good to see them back together. We
ended up getting a backstage segment of the Usos lying to us. And I say lying because they talked about how, and they gave credit to the New Day, but they said this was going to be the final battle.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
And you know that ain't gonna happen. How many times we hear about that about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we got that 8 o'clock segment that you were talking about, this awful trash of Happy Corbin for Happy Talk. Madcap Moss, he comes out, Madcap Moss, that is. He comes out and he's mocking McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, he's got the get-up in a very goofy way. He's coming out with a sword and the kilt, which looked like a kitchen gown or whatever. I don't know what the hell that was. But anyways, they're in the ring. It was just really an awful attempt at, and the crowd was not into this. And they tried to save this segment by bringing out the Viking Raiders, and it still really didn't do anything. They're getting ready to go to commercial break. Pat McAfee, before the break, makes a comment there. He makes a dig saying they lost 2 million viewers during that segment, which this company would be lucky. They would gladly, consistently take 2 million viewers a week. Yeah. I don't know how shit like that. I don't know how they're going to draw 2 million for this year of 2022. We ended up, the match, this was nothing special. Corbin and Moss, they end up winning this match against the Viking Raiders.
No, and again, Viking Raiders, they're turned into jobbers. Big 300-pound tag team jobbers.
They're announced at a weight of 590-something. I'm like, man, that's a lie.
Yeah.
You were going a little light on these brothers.
Yeah, big time. One's 400 and one's 200.
So after this really awful segment of Madcap Moss and Corbin and the whole tag team match, we get a backstage segment. Because, of course, we did.
Need to.
We get Sonya Deville, who catches up with Adam Pearce, and Pearce lets her know that he had met with WWE executives, and they right now are shitting their pants because of the fact that their champ on SmackDown doesn't have an opponent for the Rumble, since Lesnar is now the current champion for Raw.
Yes.
So Pearce lets it be known that they need an opponent for Reigns for the Rumble, and he is going to be the person to handpick that opponent for Roman Reigns, and we'll find out at the end of the night. He'll have a decision made.
But again, this is just the dynamic of them both working on both shows. It's just strange right now, or they could not split them up. One's on one show, one's on another. There could have been so much more done, but they didn't go that route.
They didn't, but we get a segment immediately after that. We see Sheamus, who talks about the injury that his boy Ridge Holland suffered in a match at day one due to Ricochet just completely smashing his fucking face in. Sheamus basically just kind of talked about Drew McIntyre a little bit, talked about the whole Ricochet Ridge Holland thing, and Sheamus threw his name into the hat. Of course, he's going to be in the Rumble.
May as well. You need him in there. You need stars, or what we have of stars so far. So, I mean, you can just everyone on the main roster is going to be in there.
Then we get our main event match, PJ, of the New Day. The challengers taking on the champions, the Usos. This is a tag team street fight match.
The 18th street fight they've had in their history, I think, of matches, at least.
I will at least say that, yes, I like Macaulay Culkin and a lot of other fans. It's nothing against these two teams. They work well together.
Yes, they do.
When their careers are over and you say who were their biggest nemesis, their biggest rivals, they will be synonymous. They will be tied to the hip to one another forever.
Yes.
However, this must stop. We must keep them away from one another. We kick off this match. The New Day, they take the advantage. They send the Usos off to the outside. We go into a break. We come back from the break, and the Usos are trying to make their way up the ramp. They're trying to run away like the true chicken shit champion heels that they are. The New Day, they catch him. They bring him back to ringside where the Usos get a little bit of offense in on the outside, but they eventually get this match back into the ring. We get a spot here in the match where Xavier Woods is held down by the Usos on the ropes, and he gets duct taped.
Yes.
It would not be the only time in one night, though, that we would see tape being useful. More on that later. Yeah, so we got duct tape going. They tie him to the ropes. So after Kofi, he frees Woods. We get to the outside, and the Usos, they nail Kofi in the face with some stairs, and then didn't even realize that Woods was actually over
I think
gate.
It was the first ever spot with stairs in the crowd ever.
I never ever seen this. I had no idea that Woods was on the other side of the rails, but the Usos, the twins, they bring the stairs over the gate into the crowd, and they whack Woods' ass in the face too.
That's the thing you got to say about when these two get together for street fights. You usually see something you haven't seen before, and I got to give them props. They did. I can't pull out a bunch of shit in this one.
They've always had great matches. I don't think anything will touch their Elimination Chamber match.
No, that was still the
that
best.
one was an absolute doozy, a classic. But after that break, we come back, and we see both Kofi and Woods. They're starting to rock the Spartan gear.
Yes. It's a street fight. It's not a kendo stick.
No,
I'm good with it.
No,
I'm good with it.
The Spartan gear that comes out, that comes into play. We get, I want to say, Jay, who attempts a super kick into the head of Woods, who has on his helmet. It doesn't faze him whatsoever. They both nail him with the armor. The crowd then starts chanting. They want tables, PJ.
Yes.
You thought that the crowd was out of it, but no, this big jolt of energy. They want tables. The New Day, they go outside and they grab them. And they get back on the inside of the ring. Jay goes for a dive at Kofi. The table's been set up. Kofi gets out of the way, hits him with the Trouble in Paradise. And then we get some super kicks to Kofi. And then the Usos, to end this match, deliver a 3D to Kofi through the table for the 1, 2, 3. So a lot of Dudley Boys homage being paid in this.
The 1D now, one and done. Yes, that's what they're going with. They're paying homage to them. Bully Ray and Devon, they signed off on it. They love it. So here we go.
Yeah, so there you go. Your winners and still the champions of the tag team division, the company, the Usos. Now, we still had a little bit of time left. There was about 3 or 4 minutes left, so of course we had to cut to the back. We see Roman Reigns, who is sitting alone on the couch. There's a knock at the door opens, and Roman looks down in disappointment and also disgust. And then we find out why. Well, it's his old running mate from the Shield, Seth Rollins, who appears and just starts cackling.
Like he does now.
Insane.
Yes.
Seth freaking Rollins pretty much is going to be the challenger for Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. Now, according to Dave Meltzer, the original plan was that Rollins was actually going to be the winner of that 4-way at day 1 before Lesnar was thrown into it.
Wow. Okay.
So Rollins, the idea was that Rollins was most likely going to be for the Raw side going into Mania with the title, and the challenger would have either been either Big E or Lashley, or maybe a combination of a triple threat with maybe Owens and Big E, Big E and Lashley, whatever.
Yeah.
But, there was an audible that was called. I'm thinking maybe the Drew McIntyre thing had a little something to do with it.
Yeah.
And, of course, the COVID, the positive test, having to, you're going to put Brock in that match. He's got to, they felt they need to put the belt on him.
And there was a loose end Rollins-Reigns angle earlier, right after Mania, when they put Cesaro up there for that one match against him.
And this was
then Rollins they teased maybe a Rollins-Reigns potential showdown.
This was something we talked about last year on the Bush League Mud Show. We talked about how if you couldn't get Rock and you couldn't get Brock back for this year's Mania in time to face Roman, Seth would have been a quality opponent. Maybe that this was the direction they would go in. Well, they're going into it for 2022. They're just going into it at the Rumble.
I'm fine with it. I'm good.
Which tells me that Brock, like you had mentioned earlier this week, Brock probably for sure now has got to be losing that belt at the Rumble.
I would
in the match to Lashley.
Or maybe they're flipping it around. Maybe now they said, well, shit, we've got this on the Raw brand. Maybe we're going to turn it this way, and they're giving Seth the SmackDown. I don't know. But we think one of the belts is going to get lost here at Rumble.
AEW Rampage. They recorded this after Dynamite Wednesday night. So this was still going down in New Jersey at the Prudential Center. The show kicked off immediately with Adam Cole versus Jake Atlas. We had seen on Dynamite, Cole was already referencing that he was going to be facing Atlas in two nights' time on Rampage. This is the match that we got. Cole comes out first, followed by Atlas. Start off this match with a showcase of technical skills between the two. Jake Atlas then began to taunt at Cole, which Cole didn't really take too kindly. We get into this match. Atlas, he attempted a springboard off the ropes, and Cole was able to catch him with a backstabber in midair. And then Cole on the offensive ended up doing what I thought looked like kind of like an awkward brain buster on the knee. But what they ended up doing was they start selling Jake Atlas's knee, bothering him. And then they had in this match Atlas blowing out his knee on a springboard jump off the ropes. Cole took advantage, hit a knee bar for the win. After the match, we see Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly all together in the ring. They're about to clean up the bones of Jake Atlas, who's nursing the knee injury. And that's when the music of Orange Cassidy hits, and Cassidy and Best Friends, they come down for the runoff.
Yeah, the ultimate badasses you would think would be able to run anyone
Cassidy
off.
With a chain, by the way. Came down with a Mr. T-type chain.
3 other guys against him. It is what it is.
After this match, we got that official word about Cody not being medically cleared for the match at Battle of the Belts. It's going to be his brother Dustin replacing him to take on Sammy Guevara, and the winner becoming the interim TNT champion. Maybe, you know what? Maybe this is also an excuse. Maybe, Cody probably is legitimately sick. It probably is COVID-related.
Yeah.
But how many people were in the back maybe saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't have taken this belt off Sammy anyways, and this is an excuse to put it back on him when they shouldn't have taken it off?
Well, they did that match Christmas night, right? I mean, it was not a memorable match. I mean, that's the thing, or time slot. So people forgot probably that he was on it. So they're probably trying to if they're thinking that way, trying to sneak it back on him, on Sammy this way.
Afterwards, we get a backstage segment. Tony Schiavone, he's standing back there with Andrade. Andrade is mocking, taking digs at the relationship between Darby Allin and Sting. So now we've started to plant those breadcrumbs of where this is going. You're going to see Andrade and Darby in a match at some point. And perhaps Sting as well. Who knows? I don't know.
It's always the third wheel involved. For this guy that's coming in, well, that's with Alistair, so I don't know.
Yeah, Andrade is, back with Charlotte. Maybe they never broke up anyways. No. And, of course, he's got that inkling, that end with Rick. Rick's still good friends with Sting. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just reaching here, but we definitely will be at some point getting an Andrade-Darby Allin match.
Well, was the assistant shown back?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so they haven't shutted that out yet. So,
yes.
Okay, I guess.
After that, we get our next match. This is Hook, the undefeated Hook in his third match.
It's his show.
Yes.
Rampage is Hook's show.
He's getting the loudest ovations. Hook versus Aaron Solo, which they've got as certain individuals, they don't need to show the records. showing me that Aaron Solo has a 13-25 record. You would think that QT Marshall would dump this chump by now.
You would think so, but apparently but
QT can't win matches himself.
Yes.
So Aaron Solo, he's coming out there with QT Marshall. They both had cut a backstage promo on Dynamite, kind of getting on Hook. QT saying that the only thing that Hook ever did in his wrestling school, which we thought Cody was training him. Yeah. At least that's the story that we were told, but it turns out that it's QT Marshall the entire time that was training Hook, but he said all he ever did was sit there and eat chips and stretch people. Well, we got into this match. We got some commentary. Too many people on commentary, by the way. We got Excalibur. We got Taz. We got Ricky Starks. We got Chris Jericho. But they were putting Taz's boy over huge, big time.
But it was strange, too, that Taz was just sitting there, and he's a member of his group, and he's just having them sit out there when there were other things going around in this match where you would think, if my kid was out there and I saw some of the shit.
Would you be out there cheating for your boy?
Well, if I saw QT grab his goddamn leg, I'm running my ass
would
down
you
to
run
the ring
out there?
And clear him out.
Would you do the Cowboy Bob at Mania and hit Taker in the head with the cast?
Yes,
Is that
damn
you?
Right, I would. Get him. Fucker ain't fucking with my kid. Get him out of here. See, I didn't understand that. And here you have Taz just sitting back, calling it cool and collective on commentary and saying, well, that's a heel thing to do by QT. It's just like, get your ass. This is strange. You should be down there. He's part of your faction anyways, so why aren't you down there? I didn't
So
get
is
it.
Ricky Starks.
Exactly.
Starks
I didn't. Either one of them could have got QT the hell out of there so he would stop fucking being a distraction to him in the match.
Yeah, as PJ mentioned, we got that interference from QT on the outside. He grabbed Hook's leg. Hook turned his attention to QT. Aaron Solo, he ended up taking advantage of the opportunity. It didn't last long, though. This was, even though Hook is not a big, massive guy, he's not thick and stocky like his father, this was a display of submission moves and slams by Hook on Solo throughout the match. He got a loud ovation. And eventually Hook won, and after the match, QT, he got in the ring and ended up getting his ass plexed as well by Hook. That got a huge pop from the crowd because they love Hook, and they can't stand the sight of QT Marshall.
Yeah.
And
Hook is good in the ring. I got to give it to him. He's got great movement in the ring.
Well, he's got an amateur background. If he's Taz's kid, he's got an amateur background.
Yeah.
He's wrestled in high school. He's done all that stuff, I'm sure. After that, we get Ricky Starks. They shine the light on him, who's at the commentary table, and he announces that after talking to Tony Khan, there were some complaints that the FTW title had not really been defended recently.
That's right. He still has that.
Yes, he still has it. So Ricky Starks was there to announce that there will be a match at Battle of the Belts for the FTW belt between he and Matt Sydal.
Matt Sydal, the company chopper.
After this, we get our tag team match. Our next match, we get Britt Baker, DMD, and Jamie Hayter versus Ruby Soho and Rijo. Really not much to really talk about with this. This was mostly something to just kind of get us the Battle of the Belts. Baker defending the belt against Rijo throughout this match. Now Rijo, she ended up defeating Hayter on the pin, in which commentary the entire time they talked about how Baker's never pinned Rijo. So that can only mean one thing, PJ, that tomorrow night at Battle of the Belts, Britt Baker will be pinning Rijo.
Hopefully, yes.
Now, Baker got really upset the fact that Hayter ate the pin on this, and after the match, she ended up leaving her in the ring. So,
some more of those breadcrumbs of that breakup coming.
Yeah. We get a backstage segment. Dan Lambert and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. This is basically a dig at what they called Tony Khan's terrible booking. They were shitting on that the entire time and said that tomorrow night at Battle of the Belts, they will be keeping an eye on the TNT Championship match.
Great.
You've got a tag team.
Yes.
So who's calling dibs on who's getting
Exactly. Scorpio was the guy that we thought should have had the pay-per-view match with Darby at the time, and they put on a hell of a match. But then after that match, he got into this failing faction, and now, who cares?
Based on this promo and the amount of time they gave for Scorpio Sky to talk, it appears that they're going to shine a solo light on Sky, and Sky will be dipping back into that picture here soon. So we shall see. I'm guessing they're going to be interfering. They're going to have some type of role in this match tomorrow between Destin
interfering again
and Sammy
in this
Guevara.
Championship match. They did this angle last year. I know they like to pick on WWE for rehashing things, but they're rehashing this angle once again.
We get our main event match, which Mark Henry didn't have enough time. He eventually did. Our main event match was Eddie Kingston teaming up with Santana and Ortiz versus Danny Garcia and 2.0. The match that you've been waiting for. We know how much you love 2.0, PJ.
Yeah.
Didn't take long. Mark Henry's in the middle of interviewing both the baby faces and the heels. Didn't take long for Kingston's Santana and Ortiz to find Garcia and 2.0 in the back. They start brawling. And then as this brawl is going on in the back, Mark Henry still gets his tagline out there. It's time for the main event. This match, the brawl spills into the arena finally. They get into the ring. Eddie Kingston, he's got a trash can. He begins hitting Garcia in the head with it. And then we get Ortiz and Lee. They're brawling in the crowd. Parker and Santana, they're at ringside brawling. This match was all over the fucking place, man. This was a no-holds-barred match, six-man match. We get a spot in this match with Eddie Kingston, who was just loving the shit out of this trash can. He adds the trash can to the balls of Danny Garcia and begins to stomp on the damn trash can. Then starts beating the shit out of him, hitting him with the trash can. Then he placed it over Garcia's head and then start kicking the trash can. So the trash can was his best friend. We got a frog splash out of Santana for a 2 count. Parker broke that up. And then we got Lee throwing powder into Santana's face, hit him with a DDT for a 2 count. After that, we got a spot here, 2.0. They're holding Eddie Kingston as Garcia goes out to the outside and grabs the bell, the ring bell from the outside. They run back inside. They nail Kingston in the fucking head with a ring bell, and they get a 2 count.
Just a 2.
So even a ring bell can't take anyone out anymore.
No, he didn't hit him square with it. It must have been just like the wood part.
2.0 and Garcia, they eventually get a triple suplex on Kingston through the timekeeper's table on the outside. Then we get some chair shots from Santana. Parker then gets hit with a bunch of lariats and super kicks, and the win goes to Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. After the match, Garcia and 2.0, they begin to attack Kingston, Santana, Ortiz, and we get more tape. We saw tape on SmackDown. Yes. We get tape here. They decide to start to begin to tape Eddie Kingston. That's when Chris Jericho, who was at the commentary table, decides to leave and run down to save his buddies. End show. That was your AEW Rampage show from the Prudential Center.
Yep. Thank God Hook was on it. And I wasn't a Hook fan to begin with. I thought, looking at his body size, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's kind of small. But no, I'm a Hook believer. So I'm with that. Other than that, it was,
There you go. That is your AEW Rampage once again. And that is the end for your Bush League Mud Show episode 30. Another edition. Slade
PJ.
Be sure to check us out wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and also like and subscribe, and also check us out on social media as well, where we get it popping there too at Bush League MS Pod. We'll talk to you guys next week.